Good morning, everyone. We are getting started tonight. It's 9:30 in the morning. It's Central Time, and I know it's really early for those of us, those of you who are on the West Coast. And I'm so glad we are celebrating and honoring the life and accomplishments of Representative John Lewis through a day of learning and direct action. Alabama mourns the day that the Supreme Court gutted the 1965 Voting Rights Act through the Shelby v. Holder decision, and we still need federal protection to ensure the Freedom to Vote Act, the freedom to vote for all Americans, no matter the color of their skin, political party affiliation, or their zip code. And it's well past time that the government in Washington, D.C. passes S4 H.R. 14, the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act. Action is urgently needed in Congress to protect voting rights all across the country, but especially in Alabama. I want to introduce myself. My name is Kathy Jones, and I'm the president of the League of Women Voters of Alabama. In a 2012 speech, Congressman and civil rights activist John Lewis said, "My dear friends, your vote is precious, almost sacred. It is the most powerful nonviolent tool that we have to create a more perfect union." Representative Lewis's idea of a vote as a sacred franchise that can make a difference is closer than ever to being a reality in Alabama. After decades of racial gerrymandering, Black voters and civic advocacy groups in Alabama recently won a federal lawsuit to force the state to redraw the state's congressional district maps to create a second minority opportunity district where Black voters will have the opportunity to elect candidates of their choice, an opportunity for proportional representation. And to joining me today are NAACP Alabama President Bernard Samilton and Shalala Dowdy of Stand Up Mobile, and the second Vice President of the Mobile chapter branch of the NAACP, who were both plaintiffs on the Milligan v. Allen redistricting case that provided this unprecedented opportunity for Black Alabamians to have a fair opportunity to elect congressional representation of their choice in the coming Alabama election. To get out the vote for the district, the League of Women Voters of Alabama and the Alabama State Conference of the NAACP have set a goal of contacting every registered Black voter in the 11 rural counties of CD2 through a postcard campaign. At nearly 27,000 voters, that is about 1/3 of the registered Black voters in the new Minority Opportunity District. After our conversation with these two heroes, we are going to provide instructions about how you can participate in this important Get Out the Vote project. And I'm going to kick it off first to Bernard, and I so appreciate both of you guys for joining me. Would you introduce yourself and also provide an update on the Milligan case and explain what's at stake for the 2024 election in this congressional election in 2024?
Good morning to everyone, and thanks, Kathy, for the opportunity to be on this Zoom call this morning and reach out to people across the country and certainly across the state of Alabama. The NAACP is proud to join with the League of Women Voters on this postcard writing campaign, because we believe that if we can make contact with people and explain to them the importance of voting, certainly in this new district during the election in November, but more importantly, every time there's an election, whether it's a city council or county commission, board of education, it's important to participate in that election process. Now, the Milligan case, which began really after the 2020 census, when that data came out, and it showed that, at least to us, that there was an opportunity for African Americans to have another choice in selecting a representative to go to Congress. And of course, we spoke and talked to the state of Alabama on their congressional map that they were drawing, and to make sure that they looked at the Black population growth in Alabama and to voluntarily create another district that would give Blacks an opportunity to select a candidate of their choice. However, after many conversations and discussions, the state of Alabama, when it did its reapportionment and drew its new maps, drew maps similar to what they had before, which only gave Blacks or African American opportunities to have one congressional district. And of course, that is Congressional District 7, which Congresswoman Terry Sewell currently holds. And so after that, we knew that the next step was to seek federal intervention. And the NAACP, Alabama State Conference, was proud to join as a plaintiff along with Shalila Dowdy, Evan Milligan, who was the main plaintiffs, as well as many others, individuals, as well as organization plaintiffs such as Scott Douglas, Great Birmingham Ministries. And so as we began to look at this process with the attorneys from Legal Defense Fund, we knew that there was an opportunity to draw another map. And of course, when this process began, again, we gave the state the opportunity to do things on its own. But as we began to discuss as plaintiffs how we were going to do this and what our role was going to be, it became clear to us that the need was even greater to make sure that we shared with the state what our conclusions were and to how we would create another district which would give an opportunity for Blacks to elect a candidate of their choice. And as everyone knows that as this process began and as we went through the court system, the state of Alabama still had an opportunity to, quote unquote, do the right thing, but they refused to do the right thing. Even after the court said, Alabama, come back with another map that gives African American opportunity to have two congressional districts where they have opportunity to elect a candidate of their choice. And in my opinion, the state of Alabama snubbed the nose at this and basically said that, they didn't believe that they had to follow court orders. And so what happened after that was the court itself, the federal courts, took it up on themselves to appoint a special master, in which that special master was able to draw a new map that included a majority Black district, this 7th congressional district, but also in the new District 2 created a new map where the population, Black voting age population, was 48.7%, which gave it was an opportunity district. It's not a majority Black district, but we believe that we can still elect a person of their choice. Now, the challenges come with us being able to educate people and at what's at stake if we do not turn out on election day to elect the candidate of their choice. And so what we have done is the NAACP has certainly had a couple opportunities to go down into the district, and we've done door-to-door canvassing, but we need to do more of that. We've also had what we call our Congressional District 2 tour, where we went through most of the counties in that district and had rallies and again, explain to people the importance of getting out to vote. So this letter writing campaign, or the postcard writing campaign, will be another effort that we're joining with the League of Women Voters to again emphasize to the voters there the importance of going to the polls on election day. And what's at stake if we don't go to the polls? Of course, there's so much at stake um, uh, within the state of Alabama when it comes to the federal dollars that come to the state. Everything from health care to how we get our internet broadband expansion, to our roads and infrastructure that needs attention. All those things like state, as well as really how African Americans' economic situation could change, because when those dollars come from the federal government to the state of Alabama and they are distributed to the different districts, different counties, we need to have a voice at the table to make sure that those dollars are distributed appropriately into our communities that will help us to achieve economic success. And we always talk about building this generational wealth, that something that we can pass on to our parents, our children and grandchildren. I'm here at the National NAACP Convention in Las Vegas, and that's been a theme that has been communicated throughout this convention: building generational wealth, having an opportunity to build generational wealth so that our grandchildren, our children will not have to go through the same struggle that we have had to go through just to have a decent living. And of course, healthcare. We know that several of our rural hospitals are closed because funding is not there to keep them open, and people are having to drive many miles just to get basic health care. And so, and we know within our court system that we see a constant barrage of African American being targeted for things with everything from license plates, lights, tail lights out, and people being stopped for just any number of reasons. And we need a new congressional district and congressional district to help combat these type of targeting and make sure that African Americans have the right that they deserve. And the final thing that I want to say is, with our votes, we need to make sure that our voting rights are protected. And John Lewis was so right when he said that our vote is sacred. It is sacred, and we must exercise that right to vote by going to the polls every time there is an election. So with that being said, I want to thank again the League of Women Voters for hosting this webinar so that we can explain to people the importance of getting out to vote. So thank you, Kathy.
Thank you, Bernard. Shalala, I'm going to kick it over to you, and wanted to ask, as a resident of this newly formed congressional district, could you share what this election means to the people of Congressional District 2? And as a plaintiff, if you have any updates, if you would like to share that as well. So thank you, Shalala.
Thanks for having me this morning, Kathy. Good morning, everybody. Like Bernard said, both of us are in Las Vegas at the NAACP National Convention. So happy we were able to make it. Updates concerning Milligan is that, we have the new district. We got the ruling from the Supreme Court. And from the outside, it looks like all is great, but that is not the case. So this new district is 48.7% Black, which means it isn't a guaranteed win for us. And so with the case, we are currently still in litigation. I myself have a deposition on the 30th where I'll be questioned by the state's attorneys, and we have trial February 2025. So we are trying to reiterate to people to take this election very serious, because given the state of the country and the climate, we don't know if any ruling can be overturned. So this could be the only election cycle that we can possibly have two Black representatives in Congress representing the state of Alabama. So just when you are out doing the work, when you're having the conversations throughout the state, everyone, just make sure you're letting people know that all is not well and that we are still fighting for the district, because the other side is not just gonna bow down and go out gracefully. This district two, the citizens of District 2 means having a voice. Right now, um, I feel like we don't have a voice. And so I just saw a question about what county is composed of District 2. The counties in District 2 are Barber County, Butler, Bullock, Conecuh, Crenshaw, a portion of Clark, Macon, Mobile, Montgomery, Russell County, and Washington. So there are about 13 counties in Congressional District 2, but it means representation. I can speak from personal experience with my current congressman, who represents the Mobile County area. I've only seen him one time since he's been in office in 2020 in Mobile, and that was at a veterans event this past November. So it means to me, being able to have access to your leaders so that your leaders hear your voice, because what I see right now is the person that's in the seat right now for our county only interacts with one party, and that individual represents all of us in the state. And that's something we have to get through to our elected officials. Don't just communicate, don't just hear the concerns of the citizens of your parties. When you're in that seat, you're representing everybody who lives in that district, no matter their political party. So I feel like we'll have a voice. We'll be able to really communicate with our elected official. Whenever I go to DC, and I've been twice since my representative has been in office, I haven't been able to have a meeting with him in his office. We've scheduled a meeting with him, and we got pushed to the side for, I think the first time we got pushed to the side for someone in the military, which at this point I'm in the military, so we could have got seen. But additionally, the past 2 years, every time we go to Congress, the only elected official from the Alabama delegation who meets with us, and when I say us, I'm going with my sorority, with the Delta, is Terry Sewell, Congresswoman Terry Sewell, the Black representative. And she's been in committee meetings, and she's left the committee meeting to come hear our concerns. And it's really not even necessary, because our concerns align with the way that she votes in Congress. It's our elected officials who don't make the time to hear us out when we make the trek to DC, who choose not to communicate with us, who choose not to meet with us. And so this district means representation. It means a seat at the table. It means possibly more funding. I know some of y'all have seen that Mobile is getting about $550 million for the Bayway Bridge down on the coast. That money is coming from the infrastructure bill, and the entire Alabama delegation voted against that bill, except for Congresswoman Terry Sewell. Senator Katie Britt was not in the seat, but there's an article written where she said she was not a fan of the bill, and if she was considering at that time that she would have voted no. But they're all celebrating the money that's coming in when they chose not to even support the bill. So it just means having access to your representative. When these people are in these seats, they report to us, and it's up to us to hold them accountable. So I feel like we won't be ignored if we have someone from our community in that seat. We will have a voice, we will be seen, and and if they don't adhere to the standard, we can vote them out, because Congress is a every 2-year seat. So yeah, I think this is a ecstatic time in Alabama, especially in the southern part of the state, and to all y'all who don't live in the second congressional district, who are doing their part in turning out to vote with this postcard campaign. And if you're going to be phone banking into the district, we greatly appreciate your help with making sure we get the person that needs to be in the seat.
Thank you, Shalala. All right, back to you, Bernard. Alabama is still vowing to continue the fight to try to dismantle the Voting Rights Act completely, and they want their right to gerrymander. How can increased voter turnout in November protect voting rights in Congress and also give us better, more fairer treatment in the Supreme Court?
Okay. Before I answer that particular question, let me just say to those who may not know, this fight for this congressional district is not over, because next year the court will hear oral arguments. and this case will be more or less litigated. And so there is still there's a possibility that, while we have it for this election, but 2 years from now, that there's a possibility that something else may, a new map may be drawn. But we need to make sure that we continue to put pressure on our congressional leaders, and again, put pressure for them to do the right thing. We have confidence, and I think the attorneys have confidence based on the information and how we have gone through and laid out the facts of the case, that we will be able to, when it goes to court, the results will be the same. But of course, the federal courts is not a political court, or should not be. But I think we've seen some recent rulings that, give us grave concerns about how the court may look at some of these things in the future. I know Mississippi recently won a case as well. And so, again, while we feel confident, we just never know how the courts are going to look at things, when they are argued before them. So, with that said, Kathy, if you could just kind of remind me of the question that you
Okay,
asked.
the question was, how can increased voter turnout help protect voting rights in Congress and also protect us in the courts?
Yeah, and a good example is the John Lewis Advancement Act. If we can get Congress to make that a priority and get a vote on that, that will give us more legislative authority to protect our voting rights. Right now, without the John Lewis Voting Rights, John Lewis Voting Rights Extension Act, or it has some other names as well, our voting rights are still somewhat in limbo, because we don't have the federal protection under the 1965 Voting Rights Act. So a jurisdiction can change its polling places, it can change its requirement for voting without going through the federal courts to get approval. Just like the state of Alabama and their SB1 bill that they passed, that basically says that I cannot help my neighbor with their voting, their application, if I'm not their next of kin, unless I run the risk of being charged with a felony. And so these types of things would not be able to be implemented if we were still under the protection of Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. And so that's what we need to get restored. The federal protection that reviews all these new policies, all these new laws that come out that affect how African Americans, well, not just African American, but it has a disproportionate effect on African American population, how it affects our voting rights here in the state of Alabama, really across the nation. So thank you, Kathy.
Thank you. Shalala, in many parts of Congressional District 2, this is the first time that many of our fellow Alabamians in the Black Belt will have had their voices heard and their vote counted equally by elected leaders at any level. Can you talk about the potential for Alabamians in CD2 to build a better future and political power that will last for the long term?
CD3 went across the state. Can you, what is ongoing and what has happened in our congressional district to learn about the importance of making sure the maps are drawn fairly? For years, a lot of us have been going to the polls and voting. And when the maps aren't drawn fairly, you're not able to make a fair and adequate vote. So you're voting, right? But your vote isn't impactful. And so hopefully from Congressional District 2, they're able to realize the importance of not just voting, but the logistics that goes on behind the scenes with that, to include, being involved in the census, and when it's time to redraw the map, as being a part of the public hearings, looking at the maps beforehand, seeing what it is that we're going to advocate for. And so looking at the map, evaluating what we're going to advocate for. We got this new congressional district. There are also current lawsuits in the state dealing with state house districts. I can't remember if there's the state senate district case, but I know about the state house district case. And that means possible better representation on the state house level when it comes to the House of Representatives. And so, looking at that, there's also issues within counties and county commissions. I think Birmingham has an issue. The judge seats in Mobile, you really can't get a Black person elected because the whole county votes, and we don't have districts for the circuit court and district court judges. And so I think this congressional case can open the doors to us looking at other races and making sure that the playing field is even, that everything is equal and fair, and going forward from there, figuring out what the plan is to make sure that we can challenge the system. And if we got to go to court and litigate, take it to that next level, because we never know what the outcome could possibly be. And also remembering that we're doing this work in our state with the mindset of, we want the best for Alabamians in general, Black and white, but we're also paving the way for others across the country to get fair representation. So I'm in law school in Louisiana, and I attended their court proceeding concerning their congressional map. And while I was there, the only thing they kept repeating was Alabama and Allen v. Milligan. And I'm sitting in the courtroom in New Orleans, and I'm like, wait, am I in Mobile? Am I in Alabama right now, or Louisiana? And so it was a reminder that Allen v. Milligan set the precedent, taking it all the way back to what was done in Selma before the Voting Rights Act of 1965 was passed. That work, set the tone for Black representation, not Black representation, but for Black voters to have fair access and fair shots to polls with no hindrance, right? So then we have our case with Allen v. Milligan. Louisiana has a new district. I'm tracking Mississippi is in the process of going through something to make sure their districts are drawn fairly. I don't know if it's state house or Congress, but knowing that the work we do, with Alabama leading the way, we led the way, and we're still leading the fight. And so that is something that we need to keep in mind. It's just changing the whole political landscape. We're starting with Congress, and we got the state house seats being litigated right now. And so we just got to continue to educate people, because a lot of people don't understand the importance of this, and they just think, oh, I'm going to just show up on November 5th and all is well. That's not the case, So through the litigation of this congressional district, we've been able, and we should continue to educate people, right? So we're educating them on this process, on why it's important, on why they should care. And, we're bringing in new soldiers to be a part of the fight, and we're educating them so they can go forward and educate those who they interact with. So I think it's going to be a domino effect. We just got to keep people motivated, even though, this is a crazy political climate with somebody trying to assassinate the former president. Keeping people motivated to just do the work. And so Congressional District 2 definitely had paved the way for us in Alabama, for Black residents in Louisiana, and I know for sure for residents in the state of Washington to gain another Hispanic district. So the work that's being done is important. We thank everybody for supporting us, and just know we got much work to do. We have a little under 16 weeks until Election Day.
Thank you, Shalala. I just was thinking, so goes Alabama, so goes the nation. And that's true on this more than anything. I'm going to shift gears a little bit and tell folks I'm going to put in the chat how you can sign up for postcards. And we will send you the postcards. We've got scripts. We've got instructions on how to fill them out. We've got a message that you can just write in. We've got addresses. If you can help us, we've got, we have had phenomenal progress so far. This is the kickoff, and just in the last week, we have already sent out enough postcards to cover 3 of the counties in the rural Black, in the CD2. We've sent out almost 10,000 postcards, and we've got 70 plus volunteers, and we've got people volunteering from 26 cities in 6 states. And that includes Alabama, Louisiana, Oklahoma, New York, Vermont, and Virginia. And so I'm going to drop the link in the chat. And when you go to that link, you will get, I will put the link in there a little bit where you can get it. LWVAL.org/CD2 postcards. That's the link. And I will send it out in the follow-up email. We do ask that the people that fill out the cards, if you are willing to coordinate for your community and then get the postcards filled out, and we provide stamps, or if you are willing to provide stamps, that would be awesome. Hold them until the first week of October, and then they go in the mail so that the residents living in these rural counties will receive it early in October, and basically get a reminder after all the ground game that's going on, that you need to show up and vote. Also check your voter registration. So thank you so much. And I am going to have closing remarks, and I want to just open it up. Bernard, did you want to give us a few remarks? And I know you guys have to get back to your meeting. And then we'll go to Shalala.
Yes. Okay. Again, I want to thank the League of Women Voters for putting this together. And just let me say again, reiterate to everyone the importance of volunteering and helping to get the vote out and to educate people. As stated previously, we are here in Las Vegas, and one of the things that the national NACP is asking, they're seeking 300,000 volunteers to help turn out voters across the country. And, in the state of Alabama, the NACP itself is putting together its get out to vote and political action campaign. And we need volunteers in the state of Alabama to assist us. And I know you have other organizations you're working with, and that's fine, as long as we're concentrating on getting out to vote. And the NACP, like many organizations on this call, we are nonpartisan, but we believe in educating, and we believe that if we educate people, if we register people to vote, they will make that crucial decision and get out and vote and know who to vote for. We can't tell you who to vote for, but if we look at the climate that we're in, look at what's going on in our country, every day our voting rights are being are under attack, and every day we're having to fight and find new ways to maintain what we have and then combat the things that are being taken away from us, and so as the theme for the National NACP is all in, and so we're all in to make sure that our voting rights and that our civil rights are protected, especially in the state of Alabama, but actually throughout the nation. So thank you again, Kathy.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Bernard. Shalala, over to you.
So like I said earlier, thank you everybody for attending. Being out in the district in June and July, I know that there is much work that needs to be done. I saw somebody in the chat that said everybody should be doing something. I definitely agree, because if you don't live in the district, you know somebody who do, who may not be aware of this important election that we have coming up. So just want to stay motivated and encouraged to do this work. It takes time. This isn't a race. This isn't a quick race. This isn't a 100-meter sprint. It is a marathon. And I know that we'll see the results that we want to achieve if we just put in the work and be willing to put in the time, make that investment, and just unite and join together.
All right, thank you. And as we all know, democracy works best when everyone is able to vote. And so we want this to be we want a phenomenal voter turnout, because that is what it's going to take. And so wanted to thank you all for attending, and there will be a post survey from this webinar, and then I will also follow up with the people who registered, with a link to this recording, as well as how you can sign up for postcards. And also, if you are able to do anything else, if you want to participate in the ground game, if you want to do phone banking, you can let me know that as well, and we will connect you in with the folks that can. Basically, we're just all here trying to get all in to make sure that everyone knows that there's an election coming up. So I wanted to wish you a good morning. And there's so many other events happening today because we are commemorating John Lewis and all that he did. And we need to really always push to have the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act passed. And this is our piece. This is just a piece of that. So thank you, and have a good evening, or good morning and a good evening. Thank you.